When you say "here we go" in a car with this much power, I'm kind of like, all right, now what?
Well, let's see. What gear am I in? At 45th? Oh, 4th. Okay, there you
When
go.
somebody says the magic words, "here we go," you expect to be launched into outer space.
Definitely with this.
Definitely sounds like it.
For sure.
Trucks this big shouldn't move like this.
This is a 6,300-pound, 3-row, body-on-frame Suburban. Okay, Tahoe. Okay, technically Escalade. But the point is, it is the Escalade, which we really like. We like the current Escalade quite a bit.
It's awesome.
I like the interior. I think it's the best Escalade ever. Why don't we put a nearly 700 horsepower engine in that? You know what that would be? Better. This is American thinking. This is just like that's just American thinking. We have something good.
Yes.
Over here we have something powerful. Good and powerful. Let's do that.
This is how this car should have been built since the beginning. No other engine option should be offered. I don't care.
Okay, all right.
Because it sets the Cadillac brand apart even more. I know they want to sell cars. Yeah.
Well,
you have the rest of GM for that.
They also have the Lyric, which is half the price of this, and all electric.
And a $300,000 hot hatchback.
The Celestique, the world's nicest hatchback. I mean, Cadillac's doing crazy things.
It better be.
Yeah.
Great cars, great roads, and all the reasons we love to drive.
Road trips, comparisons, test drives, and podcasts. This is Everyday Driver.
The Escalade is the thing that Cadillac can't make enough of. They always sell them.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. People love them. This is the most successful car that Cadillac has made. And now it has crazy engine options.
Can you imagine livery drivers owning one of these and people get in, they're like, he just says the magic words, "here we go."
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
Getting to your destination now. But the only reason the livery would never buy this is gas mileage is lucky to get to double digits. Because you want to use
You
that
can
600.
put it in tour mode. You can, back off the throttle. You're not going to want to.
Yeah,
so you'll
exactly.
Never get
Why
good
would you
gas
do that?
mileage.
But I mean, look, this is like 650-something pound-feet of torque and 683 horsepower.
Yeah,
that is absurd.
682. Yeah, whatever. It's almost 700. And when you tell somebody an almost 700 horsepower thing, they step back in reverence. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look at you and your 700 horsepower thing. It's worth it. This is the one you want. I don't know that this is ever going to be done again, even though this recipe means they'll sell so many of them, they'll be addicted to the cash flow, which means hopefully they'll never stop building them.
Oh, I see where you're going.
But you know, because customers wanted this. They said, Cadillac, stuff the engine, giant supercharger.
Where's
that has
the V version
water
of the
to
Escalade?
air intercooler on
Yes.
it, and let's get this going. And they've done it. It's a lot of money, I know. But
Yes.
Cadillac has screwed to this every little piece of technology they can possibly think of, which makes it worth it. I hate to say it, but when you get in and you taste something that you had never had any idea about you were missing, you'll never want to go back.
I see where you're going with that.
Ever.
I will say this. The thing that I do like about this a lot is the fact that all of the stuff the Escalade did prior really well, this version, this still does.
That's true.
It didn't become, the ride's bad now. No, it still has magnetic ride, still has air suspension. The ride is still
independent
wonderful.
suspension in the back.
Yes.
It's spectacular.
It still has all the space. It still has all the luxury. It still does all the things the Escalade did prior. Now it has a laughter-inducing engine on the front, which, hang on, why am I not in V mode?
Yeah,
what am I doing?
V mode.
I gotta be V mode.
Okay, good.
So I can make it go crackle and pop, which is unbelievably juvenile. The engineers on this fought to make sure they had equal length headers. There were big discussions. There's a whole soliloquy in the press material about them working on the engine note.
Yes.
Because they wanted it to sound awesome, and it does sound awesome.
It sounds amazing.
They succeeded.
The amount of crackle when you lift off,
it has the most of any vehicle I've ever heard.
And it lasts the longest.
The linger is the most I've ever heard. It has the longest, loudest, most obnoxious burble tune I have ever encountered on anything. This is somebody sitting down and going, the dad that really wishes he still had a muscle car and now he's got a lot of kids and has to haul a boat. That's who this is for. They V'd everything else. Everything else had a Cadillac V except for the Escalade.
Where was this?
It took this long. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. It is metallurgy that has brought us to this point, with all the exotic metals to be able to handle heat the way this engine can, to last sustained power, the amount of power this makes, yeah, there will be tuners that get more out of it. I'm not sure why anymore.
My Escalade isn't quite powerful enough, and nearly 700 horsepower.
You know Hennessy is going to produce
You're right.
1,000 horsepower
You're right.
version of this
Yep.
truck. This is already fun. It already sounds amazing. I'm not sure, unless you find money in the couch that you didn't know what to do with and you bring it to them and say, make me poor, what's the point? It's already phenomenal. It's fun, even though it's not engaging to drive.
No.
I'm fine that I'm not driving and I'm just enjoying everything else the Escalade has to offer.
It is excellent to just be here, and then you can just be a little bit of a hooligan, a little bit of a muscle car owner.
Or a lot, actually.
While you're owning your big SUV that tows the boat.
Yes.
I mean, that's the
because
most bizarre
towing is
thing.
what you think of. When I need something to tow, you automatically think of Escalade Vs.
Well,
The boat will snap like the end of a whip, the very tip of a whip behind this thing. It's just going to snap off the back of this thing.
It is so unnecessary. It is fantastically absurd.
Yes.
This is one of those vehicles, and we've had a few. The Ram TRX was another one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Where
Yeah.
I truly sit here in wonder because there's no good reason for it to
Gotta
exist.
get it under the bridge. Under the bridge. Here we go.
There's no good reason for this to exist. And yet I'm thrilled that it does, but I can't drive it without shaking my head at the sheer absurdity. The entire time.
That's the best part about it. I'm in love with the Escalade, even though I have no use for it, but
Sure.
that's just it. Everybody who notices this, they want it, but they know they don't need it.
Oh, yeah.
You want it desperately,
Yep.
and you think, I have no need for something like that, and yet $150,000 sounds like a bargain because
it does
you
not,
just.
but okay.
This is the chase for money buying happiness. This is the manifestation of I want to spend money I don't have, and surely it's going to make me happy. And it does.
It is amazing how this ridiculous engine in this gives this a personality it doesn't have otherwise. Because its
Yes.
personality otherwise is convenience.
It's
That's
convenience,
what it
it's
delivers.
space,
it's
and
luxury
yeah,
in that
yeah.
kind of you and the family and the screens on the back and everywhere you want to go, you'll be cosseted and it'll be nice. And then this has got
Cosseted. Love that word.
this has got just that little
Cosseted.
bit of kind of nudge in the ribs, like you want to laugh for a second, you want to cackle just for the
Totally.
heck of it.
It's the greatest. It's the greatest truck ever. The fact that it
Greatest
exists.
truck ever is funny. And meanwhile, I'm going to take these guys down because of course I can.
Holy Holy crap.
All season tires, 700 horsepower, middle of the winter. Sure.
Check.
Yep, let's do all of those
Holy
things.
crap.
Yeah, it's madness is what it is. And I will say there's a couple little oddities here that I am surprised by. One is this has got Bridgestone all seasons on it, which are fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's the only tire offered on this. They don't
Which
offer
is surprising
a high
to me.
performance
Yeah.
tire. And we, here in the middle of the winter, would have liked a winter tire quite a bit.
Well, I mean, you can always put winter tires, great winter tires
Yes,
on your truck.
you could always do that after the fact.
But the fact this has this much power and performance, braking and acceleration performance,
Yes.
and it doesn't have a high performance summer tire option.
Yes,
That
I'm
is
surprised
strange.
by that, and this does 0 to 60 in a little bit slower than you might expect. Now, it's still 4.5 seconds, but there are other things like the GLS 63 that we really like.
Yeah.
That is right around 4. I mean, granted, it's 6,300 pounds, so we're moving quite a bit of stuff around the world.
And you
Yeah.
feel it. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
a huge beast.
There's never a time when this hides its weight, and it actually, in braking tests, typically runs a little bit longer in braking than the standard Escalade. This is a heavy, powerful thing. It's got big old Brembos on it, but you never escape the fact that it's enormous. And in some slippery conditions, that's the overwhelming sense, that this is huge. I love the power. I like driving it. It is a laugh. But when things get questionable, I am intimately aware I have to somehow gather back up a massive thing.
Maybe GM thinks you're just gonna burn through the stock tires
And
instantly,
put on anything else.
and you'll just go for
Yes.
the high performance tires that this truck should have, because it really should. So look at the styling. I actually like how imposing the
Yes.
Escalade is. It sort of matches the name. this imposing, irreverent, look at all the money that I have. It's just, it's got this attitude that Escalades never have had. And then on the inside, you'll notice that the elegant flowing lines match nothing on the outside of the vehicle.
True.
Not a thing.
Yep, it's abrupt out there and not in here. You're
It's
right.
brutal on the front end. It's a block. Luxury is a box. It is. This is a boxy shape, but that just says usefulness.
Yes.
You can haul a lot of gear and passengers, and that's what it's designed for, and it's excellent. It harkens back to the old Suburban, but now on the inside, this is entirely appropriate. They've done the Mercedes thing with this giant screen, 38 inches of huge, beautiful screen.
Multi-layered,
This is
all
what you
touch
want.
screen, very impressive.
The
and easy to
multi-layer
use.
thing is unique to Cadillac. The seats are great, even though
Seats
they're
are great.
wider than they need to be because we're not that fat, really.
We're not.
They're huge.
But they are seats to accommodate the entire market.
Okay, good. That was delicate.
I will go with that.
Cooling, heating, massage.
Yes.
For both seats. The support is excellent. The materials are great. They're bespoke and they feel unique to Cadillac. And finally, this feels like something high-end and very special.
We talked about that on the last Escalade review, is that
Yes.
forever the Escalade has been like the slightly higher trim level of the standard Tahoe and Suburban. This Escalade feels like, oh, I actually stepped up to something. I went somewhere other than just buying another Suburban or Tahoe.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to drive because it's hilarious over
This
here.
thing is huge.
It's huge.
There's
and it
so
has
much space up
ridiculous
here.
power.
There's cubbies down here.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, 10 speed, nearly 700 horsepower. Gas mileage, yes.
Those hooligans at Cadillac. Doesn't this have the ability to talk to people in the back?
It does. You can echo your voice through all of the speakers. It's voice enhancements.
Deep in settings.
There you are, right there. Conversation enhancement.
So what you can do, you can have it off, but everybody has a microphone and a speaker above your head. So therefore, the people in the back, you're not yelling because you're going to be yelling over the sound of the engine.
It's a
They're going to be
cathedral.
yelling over the sound of the exhaust.
Yes.
You're yelling over the sound of the supercharger whine. That's why they turned this on. They put this in the car.
Because it's such a cathedral that you can't hear people in the back pew unless you have some
It's a
amplification.
cathedral back there. This drives enormously.
It's big.
It's
all the time.
Huge.
Yeah.
I don't love driving it, but I like being in it. And I want to
Interesting.
just stomp the throttle everywhere. But when you're not, it still gives you the benefit of just a lovely place
I
to
think
be.
that's a key thing, is the fact that it's great when you're not being a hooligan. And then it still has that ability.
You're going to look for straightaways everywhere.
If it wasn't wintertime, we'd do it at a quarter.
I mean, I'd be taking this corner much faster. But,
Yes.
I'll just tiptoe.
Uh-huh.
It's winter out.
It is hilarious how easily you can break the tires loose. That is the benefit
just
of
like,
nearly 700 horsepower and
be
all
cool,
that torque, is
be
because
cool.
you could you want to get sideways? Yes, is the answer. Here's an actual gripe I have, because if you're going to give me something that is this high performance, you're going to advertise that it's high performance, then I am going to rise to the challenge and want to be an idiot.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
And that means I want to turn the traction control off, which means it should have a button, an actual button dedicated to traction control
Okay,
somewhere
fair.
easy for the driver to find. You can turn it off, but you have to go into the screens and you have to get there. There should be a "I'm an idiot, please" button.
But don't you think that because everybody will be doing that, they purposely buried it to prevent all the idiots from doing that?
Maybe, but if you're like us and it's winter time and you have this, what
Idiots
happens
in the
is
winter.
you're driving along on the road that's actually been plowed and you pass a parking lot that no one's in that hasn't been plowed.
It's true.
I need to be able to hit the traction control off by the time I turn
true.
off the road, so that I can be
Yeah.
pirouetting through the parking lot and then turn it back on and go back to the school line.
Snorting.
Of course.
Yeah, I get it. But the kind of power this makes is it's at the top end.
Yes.
It's once you're already going 100, then that's when it really takes hold of the speed in a huge brick and takes off.
But what you have to do is you have to tell the transmission to climb down out of the stratosphere of gear number 10.
Well, that's true. It's 10 speeds.
And you've got
That's
you
for
keep
fuel
pulling,
economy.
of course, which is still terrible. Couldn't we have gotten by
Because of the
with 6 or
engine?
8 speeds? Because we're
Yeah.
not saving any gas because of this transmission. Anyway, but
Motor
you
wheel.
have
All
you
right,
have
here
to
we go.
work your way down to like 3rd
You're
or
right.
4th.
6, 5, 4.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. And then it gets all burbly, and then you're like, now I have power all the time. Yeah. Yeah. I have never heard overrun like is in this vehicle. No sports car.
I agree.
Nothing we've ever come across has ever had so much crackling overrun as this.
And it lasts and lasts. It goes on
Now it's
and
done.
on and on.
We can interrupt ourselves with just the engine firing back.
Second.
Now it's done.
Now it's done.
It's ridiculous. It's fantastic.
Oh my
But it's
gosh.
completely absurd. And this is the reason the gas mileage is so terrible, because you're spending so much of it just making crackles out of the
Yeah.
back.
Well, it says I'm getting best fuel economy.
No, the best
I'm
you've
up
ever
to
gotten.
12.6.
No, the best you've ever gotten was 28 in the 4,000 miles of the life of this vehicle. The
Yeah.
best ever has been 28. The average 12. Oh, you know you want to.
See, at
Yes.
at low speeds, it doesn't feel that fast,
It's right there.
and then it starts to go.
Yep.
Holy crud!
It's at over 4,000. And it's because it's a supercharger, not a turbo, that it builds in that naturally aspirated kind of feel. And then it does that again.
That's full throttle.
Yeah.
Holy crud! That's way too much fun.
That is the fun of it.
I'm just looking for cops everywhere.
Yep.
Like the faster you go,
And,
unbelievable.
And because of the magnetic ride, and because of the air suspension, and the fact that they retuned the suspension for the V version, this handles itself in corners much better than you'd think it would. But, as we've said before, while it handles itself better than you think, you never get past the fact that you know this is big.
That's true.
We've had plenty of performance vehicles we've driven, even some performance like SUVs and things that feel like they get a little smaller. They like kind of tighten up as they go fast.
I can see that.
This never does. This is always huge. Doesn't take away the laughter, but it's always huge.
That's what's so absurd. That's why you keep laughing, because you think,
Yes.
how can a truck this big be this fast?
Yes.
And do this?
Remember when the Jaguar F-Type came out and everybody was like, that's too much exhaust and too much overrun. It's like GM went, I got a massive truck, hold my beer.
They did
seriously
say that, didn't
yes.
they?
The F-Type was like
That was a
inappropriate.
challenge.
It was like inappropriate for the market.
Yeah.
And I think somebody at GM was like, well, we've got all this real estate to make exhaust pipes because it's a massive thing. Let's just
true.
tune it and see how obnoxious we can make it. And you know what? Mission accomplished. They
Dang it.
achieved obnoxiousness. For sure. But this is from the factory like this.
This is right off the showroom floor.
Yes. We could literally do the rest of this test drive just making it talk for itself. Because
could.
it
That might be
burbles
worth
for
it.
so long.
But it's loud.
Yes.
And it's obnoxious.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
It's amazing.
I think your neighbors are going to hate you most of the time, and your spouse might as well.
Well-
but as a driver, you're going to be like, I did it again. Did you hear? I did it again. That one was longer. That's the longest one I've ever done. It's going to be a challenge for how long you can make it do it.
They're so proud of it.
Yes.
That every time you start this thing, it starts you in sport mode.
Yep.
Who thinks like that? They got it right. Everything about the V is right. Nobody needs this.
No, not
And
at all.
that's what's so glorious about
Not
it.
at all. You're going to make it do it.
I'm going to come down through the gears.
Okay. Oh my God! You're just trying to make me not talk anymore by doing that for the rest of the review. And then there's that. Yeah.
Holy crud.
Yeah, that's a lot
How is that possible?
of speed and power. It's unbelievable.
What were you saying? What were you going to
You know what? Candidly,
about?
I forgot. I completely forgot. I had a
That's
thought.
what you can do to your passengers every time. You're like,
I had a thought, and it was blown away by that level of burble and overrun.
oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
It's. But I will say
Yeah, it
this. This
does.
is what I was going to say. I will say this. You want to compare this to like a big, loud-voiced V12 exotic car, but it only does that stuff. And I like those
Yeah.
exotic cars. This has all of that absurdity because a lot of the hyper exotic cars, all they're built to be is absurd. This has that level of absurdity built on something that is truly very usable and good.
Absurdity in a box.
Yes. Yes, for sure. At least they've made it useful and utterly absurd.
Nice heads-up display. You do have, let's see, over here, you can choose the gauge cluster display. You can choose map. It does have the AR camera built in, and when you have an address punched into your nav system, it will offer you turn-by-turn arrows on your augmented reality screen.
You decide you don't want to look out the windshield, you can look at the screen below you.
Don't be distracted because look at the colors.
Look at the colors. Hey, hang on, while you do that, I got to get this.
Okay.
I got to make it happen because that's awesome. We can just look.
We don't have an address punched in, but you get the idea. It'll offer you the turn-by-turn directions, which is actually nice, and it'll give you the distance as to when the turn is coming, and that is nice. This doesn't have the Super Cruise. It'll have Super Cruise 2, version 2, when it comes out, and that's something extra to add on to the cost of the truck. But who cares about letting this thing drive itself? You're going to want to do...
You would think.
Unless there's a way to program in there. Can we do pulls and back off?
When Super Cruise is programmed for pulls, we really have reached a new age. Yeah, for sure.
You know it will be. Let's start to do it. Just tiptoe into it. 5th gear. Get ready.
Still going. That's the whole rest of the review, is just it doing that.
Well, yes. Yes to that.